Hey, I'm C here with Purple Labs and also with my brother, apparently.
Hello.
Hello, Aiden, my brother.
Hello, sister.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Long time no see.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Hey, but don't.
Oh, yep. Is this how this is going to go?
It's exactly
Okay.
how it's going to go.
I'm prepared. I'm ready for it.
So, besides obviously we're friends, we're not brother and sister, but it's soul brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I asked you to come here is because you have an amazing project called LadderCaster, and I would like you to explain it to me as if I was like that estranged aunt that is super into cats and dogs as well. Let's not discriminate.
No discrimination.
But has never stepped foot into like Web3.
Okay.
Let's go.
Excellent. Okay, so the game is LadderCaster.
Okay.
The whole point of the game, it's an NFT board game. Now, the NFT thing is what we're going to leave to the side for Auntie over here.
Thank you.
But it's essentially it's a competitive strategy board game, and it's on mobile, so you can use it on your smartphone. You could use it on web if you feel like it. But the whole point of the game is that you have a character. In this case, they're wizards or spellcasters. You use those characters. You can have as many as you want. You can play multiple or just one. And you basically move around the board, collect some resources like you would in any other game. Just think of like Settlers of Catan, or Auntie, maybe you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, I'm familiar with the wheel Dungeons and Dragons.
Here we go. And it's like kind of similar to imagine if there was a cross between your resource managing like you would in Settlers of Catan. You have a bunch of people to trade with because anybody who plays the game you can trade with. Just the board is expanded because now you have potentially millions of people who can play the same game. And then you also have items that you can put onto your character and dress them up into a fancy wizard. And then you can find better items and you're competing against each other and trying to level up as fast as possible.
Awesome. Like after you can play around, right? Do your characters stay leveled up?
Yeah, so basically you can level all the way from 1 to 30. Once you've hit level 30, that's the maximum. We have what are called seasons. So every 28 days, it's one season. So we're actually on our way to launching season 0. It's our alpha season. It's really like a proof of concept, and we're doing the opposite of what most people in Web3 are doing, where we're actually releasing a game first.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Wow.
And through playing the game, that's how you would get any items or NFTs or tokens and that sort of thing. So.
Oh my God, it's very exciting. You're you're going to demo this in the New York Hacker House?
Yes, the New York Hacker House is our launch. Yes, March 18th.
Actually, I want to talk to you about this because the birth of LadderCaster
was really from, we played a bunch of games. It's my cousin and I who have done this, right? And so Calvin and I basically have played a bunch of games, and through playing all kinds of games, when we got into the crypto space, it started becoming more and more obvious that the really fun things that we liked about playing games were starting to merge into this new space. And we started also seeing that the communities that were assembling around crypto were these hyper competitive NFT traders, and they were just all trying to compete with each other. And that really spoke to us. So it was a natural fit when we started hearing about the possibility of gaming in the blockchain world. So we were like, great, let's kind of see what this is all about. We got really involved on a different blockchain called Wax. Started kind of seeing what was done well, but we saw a lot of things that were not done well from a community standpoint. And basically Calvin took it upon himself to just listen to the community and decided to build this game from scratch. And so as he started doing that, I started getting more involved. And then we were kind of trying to figure things out, and we talked to Bartosz and Jordan from Solana, and we were trying to figure out what was going on with hacker houses, and we were like, can we get some information? They're like, nope, just show up in Miami.
Just show up.
What do you mean? And they're like, that's it, we're too busy. And we're like, okay. And we showed up in Miami Hacker House back in
Art Basel.
First week of December, and that was literally life-changing. Totally life-changing. I worked for the federal government for 5 years before this in Canada, and so that was it was a shock. I called my boss. I was like, I'm not coming in tomorrow.
Bye, I'm all in now.
It was. He was super, super accepting. I mean, it was really amazing, and he was really hoping I could bring back some innovative ideas back to the government. And then, sure enough, maybe 20 days later, I quit. So it kind of backfired for him. But yeah, and that was sort of the journey that we started on, was going to that hacker house. And we were like, okay, there's something here. We got a lot of interest, and then we're like, we'll go to the Chicago one in the Chicago Hacker House in January, just for consistency's sake. And then we showed up there, and it was like, oh, we just like shrunk our timeline by another like couple months, and we met more people who wanted to work on it. We're like, okay, well, maybe we'll go to the next one. And then we showed up in LA, and sure enough, then we like accelerated the timeline again, went to Seattle back to back, accelerated the timeline once again, and basically all the devs, they came over here to Portugal. They started working a couple weeks ago and waiting for this week, and I went back to Montreal trying to get everything together and like hold down the fort. But this is the kind of the train we're on, and again, we're going to launch in New York.
I'm super excited, and I think it's like we've interviewed a lot of people in this space, and time again, I think it proves to me that like hacker houses and community-run events, right, are super fundamental. Not only for connecting and just overall, having this like really one-to-one human interaction, but also it serves as a big pivot for projects, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
it accelerates projects.
Oh yeah, it's immense.
And do you feel like FOMO after each hacker house? Like, okay, so let's say you went to the Chicago hacker house and you were like, you know what, I'm just gonna do Chicago, right? But then Chicago ended. It was like, I guess I'm just gonna go do LA.
Yeah.
And then Seattle.
That's kind of, it's definitely sort of like, it's a snowball effect, where as soon as the thing starts rolling, there's no capping it. There's no putting it back in the box, and that's kind of what had happened. We really thought Chicago was, okay, we just need to be consistent builders and show up again, and it just took on a life of its own. But it really is, it is the community, of all the ecosystems that we've been a part of, that we have even like dipped our toes into. Again, we were like really entrenched in Wax, very different community aspect. The Solana, the builders, the people who are here, people who have been to these hacker houses are just on another level in terms of their cooperation, their willingness to just drop everything and support you, or to help you, or to literally write code with you. It's fantastic. And like for us from Montreal, like it started with Calvin and I in Miami. And then we brought out the Ludex guys to Chicago. We're like, you guys got to get out. We got to pull you out here to show you the value that you have. And they were like thinking of basically a valuation that was 10x lower than what they were actually marketed for. When we got there, I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, this is worth 10x that. And they were like, what? And I was like, here. And they set them up some conversations with some venture folks, and they're just like, what the heck is this? I'm like, you don't know until you know. Like, you really don't know.
It's true.
It's crazy.
True. There's something really magical about this. I think, personally, I formed friendships that I know are going to last forever.
Yeah. That's real.
No, I mean, like, no, we don't know each other. Brother and sister. No, but
siblinghood.
Tell me what's siblinghood. Tell me something though. What is in the future for LadderCaster?
Yeah, so basically right now it's all about launching the game first, and then once we've launched the game, every season is 28 days, and we iterate off of the previous season. We ask the community for feedback, and it's built with the community.
That's the best.
For the next season. So every season we launch, there are no rule changes, there are no nerfs, no buffs, no bans in the game for the whole season. What you see is what you get for the whole season. And throughout the season, we're going to be listening to the community and throwing things their way for like ranges of rule changes, ranges of new motifs that we might want to go into from a design perspective, you name it, and we'll make those adjustments for the next season. So every season is like almost like a new play on the old game, and at one point, maybe we'll get to like season 5 or 6, and the only things that'll be consistent is everything will have this, wizard hats, and it's like a bunch of pizzas with wizard hats on them. But the game itself could be, quite a bit different. But the principle still remains that it's a ladder system where there's a current season that's active, and all the previous seasons are inactive, but you can still get some passive income or revenue from playing those previous seasons. Like, you can still have a spellcaster from season 1 that could still be collecting tokens because there are still some tokens available for season 1. So there's those sorts of things that while moving forward, we can always kind of iterate off of new games, but people don't ever have to leave the attachment that they have to their old character, or they can choose to burn that character and come over to the new season at any point. So those things are sort of the main principles that we wanted to bring to the community. The most centralized part of it is that here's the idea of the game. Do you like it or not? And if the community likes it, great. Then we can actually end up handing this off to the community within a year, where we start bringing them, they get more involved, and then the treasury comes in. They get to actually make decisions, pay for those decisions, and then we just end up transitioning the power and the control over to them.
This is super cool. I love LadderCaster. I mean, I'm a gamer, so like when I finally really understood what you were doing, I was like, oh my god, I love this. I think one of the things that I would like you to kind of, talk on, and almost like we finished with this, okay? I know that you're good at this. This is why I'm asking you to do it. So let's say there's someone at home right now with a project, and they don't know what to do, right?
Okay.
Obviously, we're talking about Solana.
Okay.
What would you say to them? Okay, what do you say are the areas that maybe people neglect that should, be a priority? Obviously, maybe coming to a hacker house. I don't know. What? Give me motivational. Give me Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
That's so beautiful.
No, that's such a good question, and it's a very nuanced question, because there are so many different components, and I think the most difficult thing, and I'd say the first piece of advice I'd have to anybody who's trying to build or who's interested in getting into the space is try as hard as you can to focus in on the things that actually matter, and to try and do away with all of the other things. And I know that that's a very conflated thing to say, but I mean that in the sense of everybody's going to tell you that every little thing is really important. The building of the thing is really important. You need to have really interesting mechanics. Okay. Oh, and the community is utmost importance, which it is. And the marketing is super important. You got to focus on. But I've seen people who've done marketing really well and who haven't built, and who haven't really kind of neglected their community, or they built up a community with marketing, but then they have no roadmap, right? And then you have people who built like crazy, and they've built up a community, but they have no marketing, and the community's kind of small and it never really grows. Those are, it's sort of a trifecta that's really difficult, and I don't really like traditional marketing, but it is something you have to keep in mind. So that sort of trifecta is, you have to keep that in mind, and I would say to keep that in mind moving forward, how you can do that is you can talk to the people who are in the community. So coming to hacker houses is great, but a lot of people can't afford it. It's a lot. We were at the point, Calvin and I were at the point with we couldn't continue. And we finally closed our first investor in Los Angeles, which again, it was such a crazy, we were in LA not thinking we were gonna get anything. We thought worst case scenario, we leave after Seattle and that's it. But we ended up getting that. But for people, it's typically not accessible. So I'd say reach out to the builders who are in the space who really want to talk. Those people who are offering their support. You're awesome and you're always around talking to people, trying to engage people about what they're doing. No, it's true. I don't know what it is with Portuguese people, you and Chico,
Yeah, the Portuguese DAO.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, listen, I support. But yeah, I think it's reach out to the people. Don't be afraid of reaching out. Certainly don't be afraid about asking for help. We asked for help and people just came together. And be honest and open about what you're doing. That's really it. And then through that, everything kind of falls into place.
That's true.
And if it doesn't, it's because you weren't focusing on the happy path of figuring out what do people actually want, and am I actually working with people, for people, and by the people,
Exactly. It's is this a vanity project, or is this something that is going to add value to someone else?
That's it. It's all about how to add value. Yeah. And I think that if you keep that trifecta in mind while also recognizing that you can ask for help, I think that's kind of wherever your weakness is, if you're self-aware, beautiful.
Yeah. So where can they find LadderCaster?
At LadderCaster on Twitter, LadderCaster.com. Right now we have our countdown to our alpha launch, and post that. You can always find us in our Discord, which you can also find on the Twitter page and on the landing page.
Thank you so much, Aiden.
Thank
you so much for being this really I don't know, we were talking about this before. I feel like people like you are so important in the ecosystem, because you make things happen. And I think also you're talking about my energy. I think part of the success of the hacker houses has been because people like you have brought also really good positive vibes and positive energy and making sure everyone feels seen and and heard and comfortable. So I would like to really thank you for that.
Thank you.
And wish you the best of luck
Thank you.
in LadderCaster. I know it's going to be great.
Yeah, thank you so much, C. Thank you so much for everything.